All right, in this video I'm going to try and give you some hints to move along with the sorting lab if you've been having difficulty. You'll recall in class we gave you code for both selection sort and insertion sort. And in the sorting lab you're asked to sort strings with insertion and rectangles with selection. In this one I'm going to focus on the rectangles because I think that's probably the more difficult of the two. So what I have right here is the selection sort code that was handed out in class. And in this part of the lab, we're asked to actually change this to be rectangles. So our method name changed to selection sort rectangles. And instead of having an array of numbers or integers, we actually have an array list of rectangle objects. And I believe you were asked to call them box here, although you could really call it whatever you want right there. All right, so let's just explore the rectangle class real quickly. The rectangle class is already written for you, and there's just a couple key things you should know about it. First off, it implements comparable, which means you can place them in order using the compare to method right here. And a quick look at it shows us that it gets diagonals, and the get diagonal method is right here. And the diagonal actually was calculated way back up here in the constructor. So it gets the diagonals and basically puts them in order based on the length of the diagonal. It also has a toString method. We'll print out the rectangle a certain way. All right, so the most important part, though, just for us, is to know that it uses compare to. So let's go back up here. And we know we've got this array list, and it helps to just review how does selection sort work. We have two ints up here, one called key and one called temp, and they do two very different things. And so let's first consider what does key do. If we look here, and we have an index that starts at 0, goes to pretty much the end of numbers, and we start off with key equaling the index, which tells us that, oh, key is a position along the way here. And we're looking with selection sort. Remember, we're always looking for the smallest or the largest of the elements. And if we look here, oh, we found our position. Key equals position. So bear in mind, key is a position or an index. Now down here, we'll see we have temp, and temp equals numbers at key. That means temp is an element that you're trying to sort. Now, they were both ints back when we had all ints that we were sorting, but in this case, we're not sorting ints, we are sorting rectangles. So temp is no longer going to be an int, temp is going to be a rectangle. So that's our first change if we're using very similar code. So key is a position, so that can just stay as it is, but rectangle, or temp, is a rectangle object. So we got to declare it at the top there. Now I'm going to just help you out with two lines of code, and one of them is this line. Here we're comparing ints, and when we compare ints, we simply just say, oh, is 1 less than 2? And so I would just want to look at how that compares with the compare to method. So I'm going to go to a clean page. If I say 1 is less than 2, let's just use strings for a moment. That would be akin to saying alpha is less than beta, but we know that strings are objects, and so we can't actually do that. And the way it would look with strings is to say alpha dot compare to beta is less than 0. If it's less than 0, that means alpha comes before beta, which it does in this case. Okay? Now, what I want you to notice is that that comparison of less than didn't change at all. So when we were comparing numbers, we had less than, 1 is less than 2. When we're comparing objects with a compare to, the less than there is still a less than here. It's just whether it's less than 0 or greater than 0. So when we do this line here, let's just change it to use with rectangles. Our array is no longer called numbers, it's called box. All right, so first we want to do box, and we can't use square brackets because it's an array list. So to get what's in there, we use the get method. So box.getPosition. That replaces this portion. And to compare objects, we can't use a less than symbol. We're going to use a compare to. And then in the parentheses, we're going to take this part, box.get key. And then we're going to say is less than 0, because that is comparable to this less than right there. And all of that goes inside of your if, and it will work the same way as it did here, where we're basically looking for the smallest number. The other line I'm going to help you out with is this one right here. How does it look with an array list? So in arrays, we just are setting the value at key to the value at index. And in an array list, we have to use the method set. So we would say box.set, and the position where we're going to set it is key. So box.setKey, and what do we want to put there? We want to put what's in position index. Well, to get that, we have to call on box.getIndex. And here is basically the same code using ArrayList. In this case, it's called box. Notice it makes no difference that these are rectangles. It wouldn't matter if they were ints, rectangle, strings. This is how we convert setting one value to another in ArrayList. So the position key goes right here, and what we're going to set it to, we grab from there. We use the get method. All right, I hope this helps out with finishing up the sorting lab.